have a question as somebody, as a current student who was always good at math and went into college totally intending to study engineering.
Yes.
And the two words engagement and changing culture have been mentioned a lot of times, and I'm wondering about how you get professors who really know how to teach and know how to make students enjoy what they're doing, because I know that at Brown there's a lot of professors feel a lot of pressure to focus much more on their research than maybe on their teaching, and sometimes it seems like hiring practices might reflect that, and I'm wondering about how you, in this idea of changing the school culture to make students enjoy the stuff, how you hire professors to do that.
The first step, whether we're talking about K through 12 or colleges or working in the community, is to understand the trends right now. I ask universities all the time, go back to the data over 10 years and look at the number of students each year who came in saying, I want to be an engineer, and let's see what percent made it to engineering. And then let's look at the grades and see why that person didn't make it. And typically, the person got a C or D in the first 1 or 2 courses. Often the person started at a higher level because if they get the 5s, they say go to the next level. And yet, if you look at the data, a lot of colleagues didn't like what I said. I said, let's let them start with the first course. They said, ridiculous. They got the 5, let them keep going. So I said, let's look at the students who start with the next level of math and science, and let's see what kind of grades they get. With the exception of maybe the top 10%, people got B's in about 20% of the cases, C's in about 40% of the cases, and D's. These are kids with 5s. So the idea of what level do you start with, number one. Number two, the real question is, are there faculty members who are interested in understanding why people are not succeeding? Are they willing to have focus groups with people to say, what do you think about what happened to you in your course? It's not about pointing fingers, just trying to understand it. But I am saying that the more enlightened approach now in more and more math and science teaching involves what I show on my iPhone all the time, and this is first year chemistry. It's loud, everybody has to be involved, okay? It has groups of 4, we changed the furniture, they cannot use pencils and paper, one person's at the board, one person's project manager, right? And they switch roles, one person's provocateur, asking the questions, and the faculty member has a master terminal and looks at what each group is doing to see when people have problems, has had professional development so they can go around and give support without giving answers to what's going on. And again, what's happening is not that we're saying here's the theory, they've got to figure it out. It's frustrating as hell, but they are engaged. And I'm telling you, over 5 years, when we saw a 50% increase in kids, and the base was large already, of making B's and A's, and my problem now is more and more levels of sections needed, other professors said there must be something to this. And the other point was this, the STEM faculty said, well, it probably more making A's and B's because it's not as rigorous. When we had the American Chemical Society to document that the rigor was even greater, people had to accept that. It worked so well that then we talked about mathematics. We talked about using some of the work that Carnegie Mellon has done. They've done more than almost anybody when it comes to alternate approaches and looking at hybrid courses, some online and other. And then the biology, Howard Hughes, there was a big grant in biology for first year biology to talk about how we go to competency based. So we got a partnership with College Park, with Purdue and University of Miami, and each place, biology in one area, chemistry, developing materials that will then be replicated in other places to try it with an emphasis on professional development. Because I'm telling you, the time is going to come, if you look at what's happening in a lot of places, where it's not going to just be lecture and people sitting there, because people are bored. We've got to get them engaged. They've got to take ownership of their education, be empowered by it. And the nice thing is, this started because we had some success with minorities doing this, and everybody said, we need it. Now, the best news is this. My students said, we want more space where we can work in groups, change furniture around. And we're listening to students. And they said, why is it that in the library, you can't really talk and be loud some places? Why is it we can't have our food and drink while we're working? We like to study and eat, right? Why must we be like we're in a monastery sitting here like this? So they said, we make a deal with you. We'll give you some of they have about $1 million a year for, bands and everything fun like that they want to do. They've been giving us $50,000, $60,000 a year to help buy furniture to keep renovating space because they get it, that working in groups makes a big difference. The key at many places when kids are bright is that they've never learned that they can learn from other people or that they need help. But real scientists will tell you that you work in groups. You solve problems. It's like the show Criminal Minds. You know how they solve those problems? One person asks a question, the other one asks, they feed off of each other. That's what we need. And the best news for our campus is it's moved from the sciences now. My humanities faculty is saying we want a chance in those classes to get students more engaged in the work, in the writing it, and the use of technology, and thinking about it, and being critical thinkers in thinking about what it means to be human. And this is wonderful. So I'm saying a part of the answer at the college level that I think is going to go, we're having high schools going to look at it now too, is looking at ways of getting at the middle school and high school level people working in groups and helping faculty learn other ways of teaching other than simply standing in the front of the room. Because the fact is, people under 25 are multitasking, using technology all the time, and if we don't keep up, we are getting a wider and wider gap between one group and the other. That's it.
I'd like to add something. So I also feel that there's a certain level of self-accountability. Let's face it, we're not going to get the funds we need immediately to train all the teachers right away. I feel that as individuals, our psychology needs to change dramatically. So if you're in that biology class and you don't have a stellar professor, something else needs to be motivating you. Something else needs to be driving you. So I feel that we really need to understand who we are individually and stop holding other people, institutions, teachers accountable for our own issues. So I just sort of like to
But the problem, and she's right about it, we say, I have a line when kids say to me, it seems like something is racist here, whatever. You know what I say? I say, suck it up. Suck it up. There are prejudices everywhere. The point is, what are you going to do? So, I mean, I'm the first, my kids will tell you, I will say, suck it up. Now, at the same time, if it's a quantitatively based course, a person can be very accountable. But if you don't get the right kind of help, and the test has problems that you haven't seen before, it's over. It's just over. The only way you have a chance of making it is if you've got a kind of structure that gives students opportunities to ask the what-if scenarios. Suppose the problem is changed this way or that way, and to discuss it the same way. This is the theme I'm talking about, that young woman could talk about her fears about what would happen in that class. She had a chance to reflect on what was important to her, to get feedback from other people so that when she had to act, she knew how to do it. Same thing happens in math and science. In organic chemistry, you know, in all these courses, unless people work it out together and learn to take ownership of it and get support from a faculty member, it's over. And that's the challenge. That's why it's only 6%, remember what I said, 6% of 24-year-olds in America have natural science degrees, and for blacks and for Hispanics, it's 2%. And NIH today, and I'm there regularly, the percent of black scientists is under 1%, and the percent for Hispanics is maybe 1%. Now that's how challenging we are in this country when you think about the science and technology infrastructure. That's the big issue.
Well, we have sucked it up as a group.